Okay, so this has to deal with third parties. And again, look, corporate media, the Democrats are on the warpath to silence and suppress third parties. Now, as I've said before, there's a lot of things working against the Green Party, the Libertarian Party, independent candidates at the federal and state level. And folks, if you're a diehard Democratic voter or a diehard Republican voter, congratulations. Both parties can work together in suppressing the vote for Americans, 50% of this population that wants to vote differently than Democrat or Republican. So if you're a Democratic supporter or a Republican supporter, congratulations. You are contributing to the two-party duopoly, suppressing the idea of real, true representation in our constitutional republic. Not a democracy. We're not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. But oh, wait, we're an oligarchy. And what does this oligarchy like to do? It likes to work at any which way in each of the different states in this great union of ours to suppress the idea that third parties can actually make a difference and that, oh, wait, voters can't really vote for them. And the 7 years of hard lens media being around, the story is always the same, no matter it's in a red state or a blue state, southern state, northern state, East Coast, West Coast, Midwestern. Guess what? The story's the same. Democrats and Republicans working together to deny third parties to be on the ballot or be on the debate stage. And corporate media is happy to contribute with the propaganda of calling them spoiler candidates. And once again, we must return to our friend AOC. AOC. Let's go and return to our friend AOC here. Because AOC calls, and you're not going to believe this, the Green Party not serious. And this is from our friends at The Guardian. This is a yesterday article. Yes, I know it's another smear piece. American politics often has wild deviations from the norms of other major democracies. Yes, because we're the only political system that has a two-party system, while other constitutional republics, democracies, have a parliamentary system in which, guess what? Their voters can actually vote for a different party than just two choices. And you're not going to believe this too. In American democracy, in American politics, quote unquote, we have a thing called the Electoral College, which supersedes the popular vote. Other Western nations don't have a Electoral College, but we do. And one of the most striking differences is set to be on display this year, the performance of its domestic Green Party. There are elected Greens at the national level in the UK, Canada, Mexico, France, Germania, and Australia, sometimes helping form governments. And yet the US Green Party has only ever had a handful of state-level representatives. It currently has none and has never had a federal election winner. Of about 500,000 elected positions in the U.S. from school boards to township supervisors to the presidency, the Green Party holds just 149. There's little indication that there will be an influx of left-leaning Greens in November's elections. Are you sure about that? Which will include local and state polls, as well as the headline presidential race in which Jill Stein is the party's nominee for a third time. Hey, they got that right. See? AOC? If you actually did your research, you'll realize that she didn't run in 2020. No, that was done by Howie Hawkins, okay? And I got a whole opinion about the 2020 Green Party campaign. Anyways, it's been a story of complete failure, said Larry Sabato, a political scientist at the University of Virginia, who argued the most consequential Green Party impact has been as spoilers, helping Republicans in close elections, such as Ralph Nader's campaign in 2000 and Stein's in 2016. False, 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 false. And I'm going to explain why. First of all, you can't spoil something that's already rotten. Second of all, even if the Greens were not even in these races, are you certain that those Green Party voters would even vote at all or even vote Democrat? Because you're making a lot of assumptions here. Plus, also, by the way, and maybe you should call into question, why were those campaigns so eventful? Why? It's because no one was impressed with the two choices. But then again, it's easy to blame. Now, let's face it, Al Gore was nothing more than a snore candidate, and Hillary Clinton was a piss-poor candidate, okay? There. Rip off the Band-Aid, Democrats, and realize that maybe you're the problem. Maybe it was always you. There's a small chance such a scenario could play out again. Don't worry, they're gonna roll out that carpet as soon as Kamala loses, if she loses, in this year's tight contest between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. One poll this month had Stein leading Harris among Muslim American voters in 3 key swing states of Michigan, Arizona, and Wisconsin, the Middle East Eye reported. Why is she leading? Maybe it's because Jill Stein and the Green Party are actually listening to Arab and Muslim voters. Maybe it's because the uncommitted, which, by the way, uncommitted, I'm calling you out from the leadership all the way down to the low-level volunteer. What made you think they were going to let you speak at the DNC convention in Chicago? And I say this with a lot of love. But what were you thinking? Did you really think they wanted to hear you speak? No. No, you were never going to speak there. I'm so sorry. And if there's any uncommitted voters that think somehow Kamala Harris and any Democrat's going to listen to you guys, I am so sorry, but the answer's no. So grow up and stop complaining. And if leadership is still convincing you to vote Democrat, hey, your leadership's failing you. Unless there's somebody high echelon uncommitted that still believes, oh, gee, jolly gee willikers, Democrats are going to help us out. Come on to Hard Lens Media. We'll be more than happy to talk to you. I want to hear you make your case. There's a reason why the Greens are succeeding right now. And look, third parties are getting a lot of attention this year. Of course, they're being vilified, but they're getting a lot of attention, which is great. Normally, the Greens aren't important, but they were in 2016. They cost Hillary Clinton a couple of blue wall states. No, they didn't. And they were in 2000, Sabito said. Why vote for them when Democrats are also concerned about climate change? Hey, professor, you're a moron. Hey, prof, you're an idiot. All you're doing is helping Republicans. Oh, yes, helping Republicans. Without them, we might not have had the Iraq invasion. We might not have had Donald Trump. Really? So if a Democrat was in office, we wouldn't have war. We wouldn't have an economic collapse. Boy, oh boy, whatever hopium, copium, cocainium you're smoking, man. Give me a piece of that, man. We could sell it on the street. You know? We'll be breaking bad. Hey, folks. Let's have democracy in the chat. You think if the Democrats won in 2000 and 2016, they'd actually do something about climate change? You think there wouldn't be any war on terror? You think things would be all hunky-dory and rainbows and sunshines? Type 1 for yes, Kit, because the Democrats care. Because the Democrats will keep things right. And shame on you. It's about time you come to reality. Type 2, man, there'll be war. There'd be an economic collapse. All of our problems would still exist, one form or the other. It was all waiting in the wings. I wonder how many 2s will be in the chat. I wonder. Do you ever wonder? Others are more sympathetic, pointing to the winner-takes-all nature of U.S. politics and well-funded machinery of the two-party system that makes it hard for third parties, including the Green Party, Libertarian Party, to break through. Notably, however, the UK's Green Party did win 4 seats in the first past-the-post Westminster elections in July. It is difficult for small parties to make way in the United States because of the undemocratic electoral system, said Christine Milleen, former leader of the Australian Greens, which was in coalition with the ruling center-left Labour Party between 2010 and 2013. Proportional representation systems provide opportunities for small parties to be elected, which has been key to the growth of the Greens around the world. Under Stein, the U.S. Green Party has complained of a duopoly, but aimed most of its attacks at Democrats, because Democrats are actually launching legal attacks. The Democrats are the ones doing it, accusing the party of supporting a genocide in Gaza and holding rallies with signs of abandon Harris. Well, that's freedom of speech. You don't like it, suck off. I said suck off, not F off. Okay, there you go. I'm being mean. I got to stop being mean. The simple fact is that there is a very little policy daylight between these two candidates. Yes, there is. Stein said the following last week's debate between Trump and Harris. Again, there is, folks, Kamala and Trump are one the same. All right? They're both part of the two-party system. Now, is Trump a little bit different? Yeah, there's some differences here and there, but come on. Stein added that Harris chooses a softer approach to fascism of capitulating to endless war and corporate rule in exchange for $500 million in campaign contributions. You got to get that cash money somehow. What we saw on Tuesday last week were two candidates striving to outbid the other's promises to push us towards a new world war and accelerate the climate emergency. Such a stance has dismayed some who have sought to build the Green Party as an alternative to the two parties. To me, this election is the choice between fascism and keeping democracy alive. So it's unfathomable we don't have a democracy, we have a constitutional republic. To me, that people can think the parties are the same, said Ted Glick, a progressive activist who's a longstanding Green Party member and ran as a Senate candidate for the party in New Jersey. It's scary to see so many people support Donald Trump, and it's hard to understand how someone as smart as Jill Stein can think this guy's the same as Kamala Harris. Trump used to be a Democrat. He used to donate to Democrats, okay? Hillary Clinton used to be a Goldwater girl, okay? Those who are Democrats and was in the system who used to be Republicans, and those who used to be Republicans used to be Democrats. They're all friends. Everybody, stop complaining. So I want to pull up this video, shot at the case study QB, who's wrongly being censored. Third-party supporters discuss their vote, and panel discuss the impact of the U.S. presidential race. So look, I am for third parties, and I'm going to say this. I want to see the Greens and Libertarians and independent candidates at the various elections, their seats that they're running for across this country, win and succeed. Now, will we see a landslide victory? No. What I would like to see ideally is maybe the Greens and Libertarians, maybe, and this probably won't happen. Most likely won't happen. Maybe secure 1 or 2 electoral college votes. Will that happen? No. Would I like to see that? Yes, I would.
If the president election were held today, who would you vote for?
Chase Oliver.
I like Kennedy, though. Just because he's different. You know what I mean?
I'd rather see RFK in office, quite frankly, sir. I think the We the People Party is fantastic. In many of the Republicans and the Democrats' opinions, I am the problem. I'm not. I am voting my opinion and my beliefs to support America. And the fact that they feel I'm a wasted vote, that's not my problem. That's their problem. They're trying to tell me to vote for their candidate. I'm going to vote the way I'm going to vote.
Well, that's how I agree. Nothing wrong with that. And all of you, my viewing audience, I encourage you to do whatever the hell you want on election night. And if you're not going to vote, fine. But if you live in a ballot initiative state, I would humbly ask, please look at the ballot initiatives that are in your state. Support the good ones, vote against the bad ones, however, which way you feel, and do that. And then you could walk off and do whatever you want. Like I said, I'm going to eat a ribeye steak on election night once I'm done voting. See, I'm going to still win no matter what.
Welcome back to Battleground. Swing state voters talking about their preference for third-party candidates. And as we continue to track the impact of third-party candidates in this race, Green Party candidate Jill Stein and Libertarian Party leader Chase Oliver are on the ballot in all 7 of our swing states. Cornel West and his Justice for All party is only on the ballot in 3 of our states, but that still means he could siphon votes in Michigan, Wisconsin, and North Carolina. And even though Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dropped out of this race and endorsed Donald Trump, he's yet another potential third-party problem for the Trump and Harris campaigns. And while none of these candidates have significant numbers by themselves, consider this. In 2020, Joe Biden won 3 swing states by less than 1 point, while Donald Trump captured North Carolina by just a little more than 1 point. With margins like that, again, even a small showing by any of these third-party candidates could make a big difference. For more on all of this, I'm joined by Brittany Gibson, politics reporter for Politico. Brittany, good to have you here.
Now, look, I understand, especially to liberal voters, Democratic voters. I understand why you're afraid of Trump. I get it. But see, you were conditioned to be made afraid. Your political party, the Democratic Party, doesn't encourage you to be bold. It doesn't encourage you to think for yourself. And it doesn't encourage you to actually have courage. It tells you to be afraid. And that you must trust the dear party, the dear leaders. And then you get hypnotized by the propaganda from corporate media. I understand that you're afraid. Don't be afraid. What you have to do is look at that said political party, the Democratic Party, and ask, well, if they're so good, why have they failed so many times? They make excuse after excuse about why they couldn't do anything about Medicare for all or protecting a woman's right to choose or student debt forgiveness. But yet they always keep crawling to you, begging you for money. And again, Democratic voters, like the suckers you are, you keep falling for it. you're in an abusive relationship. You're getting smacked around. You're getting slapped at, spit at, cheated on, robbed, hit all the time, every time. And again, the same thing would apply to the Republican Party too, but liberals, Democrats, your party is so cowardly that they are doing everything they can to remove third parties from the ballot. If the Democratic Party was truly confident in their ability to win, they would debate the Greens. They would debate them and destroy them. Why are they so afraid?
Thank you for having me.
Let's start in Georgia. Why are these third-party candidates potentially so important there?
It's exactly what you highlighted in that last graphic. The margins in battleground states are so slim, have been the last couple of election cycles, and there's no reason to believe that this November will be any different.
Yeah.
So if you are either of the major party candidates, you're really thinking, how do I capture every single person who is already motivated to go out to the—
Hey, audience. Hey, don't be mean to the reporter. Where did my audience learn to be so mean? Shame on all of you. Get up and go see the White House counselor. Bad cookies, go see the White House counselor. Mastermind Hour, go see the White House counselor. You're lucky Wendy Carballo's in the chat right now.
The polls to get them into my camp.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Georgia was decided by just, famously 12,000 votes last time. And it's a similar case in the other swing states as well.
And between Jill Stein's Green Party and Oliver Chase's Libertarian Party, are these the voters that Trump and Harris are trying to reach? Are they reachable for these guys?
At least to some extent, we are seeing
Earl of Laurel, get up. This is about third parties, not about the commentator. Shame on you. Get up, go. Go see the White House counselor right now. Where did my audience learn to be so mean? I better not hear, oh, I learned it from you. No. What is this? God damn it, Mastermind. Wendy Carballo, our White House counselor. I could get some cookies in the oven fast if anyone does come to my office. Yeah, a lot of people are going to your office right now. I'm going to tell her what you just said.
Both major party candidates making that calculus. So Trump, for example, was a keynote speaker at the Libertarian Party convention earlier this year, made a very direct pitch to that party, asking for their votes. Jill Stein, because the Green Party and concerns about climate change are also similar concerns for Democratic Party voters, are also seen as persuadable. I think there are core members of both of those minor parties, the Greens and Libertarians, who would never vote for a Democrat or Republican, but there are others who view those parties as a protest vote and could be persuaded to come back into a major party camp.
And for the three swing states where Cornel West is on the ballot, what's his potential impact in Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina? How's he doing there?
So his polling is consistently very low, 1-2% at the most bullish. But again, when it comes down to margins and protest votes, he could be pretty influential. Michigan in particular, where the uncommitted vote is still organizing pretty robustly. That's the pro-Palestinian demonstrations and movement there. He has campaigned in that community before, not too recently, but during this election cycle, and fundraised there. And he's trying to make himself an option for those voters who most care about the war in Gaza.
Right.
So he could still be influential there in that.
I'm going to rewind that again, because people need to hear what's going on.
Consistently very low, 1-2% at the most bullish. But again, when it comes down to margins and protest votes, he could be pretty influential. Michigan in particular, where the uncommitted vote is still organizing pretty robustly. That's the pro-Palestinian demonstrations and movement there. He has campaigned in that community before, not too recently, but during this election cycle, and fundraised there. And he's trying to make himself an option for those voters who most care about the war in Gaza.
Right.
So he could still be influential there in that way.
And to RFK Jr., Brittany, like you, we've certainly been tracking his impact on this race and whether he's on the ballot in some states and not in others. So
just to be clear on this one, all right? RFK Jr. has suspended his campaign and has fully endorsed Donald Trump, to which he's still probably telling his volunteers and supporters, hey, support Trump. Okay. Hey, whatever. It is what it is. But in key swing states, especially in Michigan, the courts are now refusing to remove him from the ballot. Wasn't too long ago when they were doing everything they could to remove RFK Jr. Now they're saying that he could stay on. Interesting, don't you think?
Our question, is he still a factor in this election? And do you think he's helping one candidate over the other?
He's still a factor because he is still campaigning and doing public events and has very, very publicly endorsed Donald Trump. And while I think his supporters will splinter and some will, follow his lead with the endorsement and back Trump, others might not vote at all, and other variations in between, he is making a pitch to people who are following him to back Trump. His polling declined significantly in the year of his campaign, but he's still averaging just under 5% in national polls. So that's, again, with the margins, nothing to ignore.
No, and you have to remember, just for our viewers at home, it's not just one of these candidates. When you combine them all, that's a lot of potential votes that are being siphoned away. So Brittany Gibson with Politico, thanks so much for breaking that all down for us.
So there's a couple other things here too, and this is what's causing the Green Party to really, be in the targets for the Democrats. Because right here, this is a current poll, shot again, the case study QB, just something brand new. In Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Greens right now have a lot of traction. Now, numbers will change, but in states like Wisconsin and potentially in Michigan, the Harris campaign could get a death blow. And the thing is, why is that? Well, because maybe Democratic voters are wising up to the fact that Kamala is just another corporate sellout. And to the uncommitted voters in Michigan, for example, you weren't allowed to speak at the DNC convention. They weren't going to give you a seat at the table. And then you did your protest outside the convention at the United Center in Chicago. And did anything change? No. Was anything made better? No. Did they apologize to you? No. They pretend to hear you and give platitudes. As I've covered on this show as well, there's also been a rise of black voters who used to be Democratic supporters breaking away from the Democratic Party. Most notably here in Chicago, there is still the issue of what's happening with the migrant shelters here. And this city is suffering heavily under the policies of Mayor Brandon Johnson. Chicago is in a very precarious spot here because the first time in a long time, yes, I said before that there are cracks happening in the Democratic machine here in Chicago, but now it looks like the engine is struggling. After years of neglect, it is now starting to wheeze and gasp for air. I've never seen it before, and we'll see what happens, especially as things continue to progress forward as we get closer and closer to election night. I want to pull up this other tweet here. This is from the U.S. Green Party. AOC, predatory, New Republic, malignant narcissist, Democratic troll army, Russian asset. What you risk being called if you throw a wrench into the pro-genocide two-party machine. What can we take away from this? This is all what the Democratic Party can do. Liberals, this is all what you can do right now. This is all what you're capable of doing in regards to trying to convince voters that you are the better option. Democrats, you have nothing. You only have fear tactics and name calling. You did this before in 2016, and you did this in 2020. What is the difference? I can't see anything that is redeemable about the Democratic Party. And look, folks, before anyone says, well, gee, kid, that's going to help Trump win. Well, maybe Democrats, if you actually worked on your message, follow through with your promises, actually fight, then we'd be having a different conversation altogether, wouldn't we? So it is not my fault that the Green parties are gaining momentum. But I'm more than happy to say that the Green Party and Libertarian Party are getting more attention now more than ever. And so my criticism right here towards the Greens and Libertarians is you dropped the ball heavy in 2016. You failed in 2016, okay? And I say that because you had lightning in the bottle and you let it go. After 2024, the next 4 years for the Greens and Libertarians is to do a massive campaign on social media, building your infrastructure, reaching out to people, going on different shows. I don't care if that podcast has 10 subscribers or 100 million subscribers. Your goal is to be reaching out and building your movement at the county level, city level, state level, federal level. That's what you need to do. The next 4 years are going to be fundamentally important. And if you actually can follow through as that Greens and Libertarians and other independent third parties out there, then good, because you have to capitalize on this momentum. The cracks are beginning to show. And look at how the Democrats are panicking. They're acting like that abusive spouse when they realize, oh no, the person that I've been mooching off and beating and stealing from found something better. It's time to leave the two-party system. It's time to break away and start doing something better, more constructive. We don't need the Democratic Party or Republican Party. It is acceptable to walk away and to be better. All what people like AOC or anybody else have is name calling. So, Democrats, you did this to yourselves. And on election night, I'm eating a ribeye steak to laugh at you.